When the title says doing homework, what I mean is that the homework is literally just watch the video, two videos. One quick little 2-minute video about how to use a digital micrometer, and one dummy long 12-minute video about how to use digital calipers. Dial and vernier too. What the heck is that title anyways? Alright, we're just gonna watch the 2-minute one first. This is weird. I don't like my recommended right now because it's giving me all these stupid micrometer things, and I see murder drones at the bottom right. I don't know if I think my face cam might be blocking it.
I'm Dan Benhart, Product Support Specialist for Miditoyo America.
Okay, it's gonna be really loud for you guys. I'm gonna up the volume for myself so I can hear. It's gonna be really loud for you all.
I'm Dan Benhart, Product Support Specialist for Miditoyo America Corporation. In this video, we'll describe the use of a digital micrometer. With the lint-free paper, wipe any dust from the micrometer. Place a piece of paper between the measuring faces of the micrometer and lightly close them. Without opening the jaws, pull the paper out from between the measuring faces. This will ensure that both of them are free from dust and oil. Once the micrometer is clean, you can set the origin. Close the measuring faces by rotating the thimble using the ratchet stop, friction thimble, or ratchet thimble. Pay close attention to the speed and amount of force used when closing the faces, since this should be the same for every measurement.
So that first bit was like cleaning the micrometer. This is a very unclear video. What?
With the measuring faces closed, lock the spindle in place using the spindle clamp.
Lock the spindle in
Press
place.
and hold the origin button until the display reads 0. You should also check the origin over the course of the day. This is because thermal expansion of the frame can cause the micrometer to give incorrect readings.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Although I don't think I'm gonna be doing that daily. I don't think I'm gonna own one of these.
Micrometers are typically used in two ways: held in the operator's hand and held by a micrometer stand. Handheld is often viewed as being more convenient and is required in situations when the item to be measured cannot be brought to a measuring station. However, holding a micrometer in your hand introduces more potential sources of error, as well as causing the frame to expand as the heat from your hand transfers to the micrometer frame.
That little heat just really changes it that much. That's interesting. I guess any amount of error in science is a problem, I guess.
Micrometer stands provide a stable base and allow the operator to give their full attention to the alignment of the workpiece and to measuring force consistency. Measuring stands also separate the operator from the frame, minimizing thermal expansion. For demonstration purposes, we will use a micrometer stand. Open the measuring faces to allow ample clearance of the workpiece.
Okay.
With the workpiece situated, close the measuring faces until just before they
Okay, so this is how a micrometer actually looks from here. So is this like measuring? Are we measuring that golden thing there? I think that's what this is.
make contact.
We are.
Using the ratchet stop, friction thimble, or ratchet thimble, apply the same amount of force as used when setting the origin. Lock the spindle using the spindle clamp to prevent the spindle from turning while reading the display.
Okay, but the little issue is what part is what? Which one of these is the spindle? Is it the thing he's twisting, or is it like? I assume it's the thing he's twisting, but it could be something else. This is weird. Alright, now we're gonna do this one. I'm gonna lower the volume first, see how it goes.
Calipers, vernier, dial, digital, which ones? We'll talk about it when we get back. I'm Tim Johnson. You're watching Shop Tool Reviews. People always seem to ask me, Tim, why do you wear gloves in all your videos? Well, it's because I'm a hand model for Makita, Ryobi, Milwaukee, Bosch, DeWalt, and several other brands as well. Now, listen, they don't pay me to do it, and they don't necessarily ask me either, but that's just all semantics, right? Today we're going to cover a tool that I think should be in every...
That was not very funny. That just seems like something a Genshin Impact YouTuber would edit in.
every mechanic's toolbox, not just a mechanic. Really, anybody that's doing any type of measurements, I'm telling you, this will come in very useful for you, probably more times than you realize, and that's a set of vernier calipers or dial calipers or digital calipers. What's the difference? We'll cover it in just a moment. I wanted to go over something today that should be in everyone's toolbox.
I'm assuming these are all the different types of calipers. Goodness gracious. I recognize the vernier calipers at the bottom there. Also, the pronunciation of all of these is different. He called this a micrometer. I definitely think that's wrong. Micro is how you pronounce it, so it should be micrometer. This one, I honestly don't know whether to pronounce vernier or vernier. It's not much of a difference at all, but still, which one is dial and which one's digital though? I'm curious about that.
Because it doesn't have to break the bank. You don't have to go all out with big expenses to have one of these. This is a set of vernier calipers, also known as dial calipers or
Known as dial calipers? So vernier calipers are actually dial calipers. Okay. Interesting.
digital calipers. Now, there's a difference between those names, but not really. It's the same sort of tool. So this is actually called a vernier caliper, where you're actually reading the measurement right here on the tool. A set of dial calipers would have a dial.
Oh. A digital caliper is literally just a vernier caliper, but with screens to let you read.
Dial on here where you would actually read the needle like an analog.
This is very impossible for me to hear. Give me a second.
Needle that sweeps around, and then a set of digital calipers, which is like we see right here, which has got a digital display on it. Now, all of them serve the same function basically, and that's measuring both external distances as well as internal distances, and then even getting a depth measurement. And I see a lot of times people not utilizing this depth measurement, and we'll go over all these things here in a moment. But my point is here, for less than $40, you can have a really nice set of digital.
Less than $40. Okay. That's a lot of money for something that I'm not sure how much you're going to use or need.
Or dial calipers or vernier calipers. And, you know, why buy something like this that may cost you $25 or more? This is out of my Sonic set, which again is a very analog because it doesn't even have a gauge on it, so you can just read it. And then here's a set of digital calipers, which can easily read up to, I believe this accuracy is up to 1/1000th of an inch accurate, and 2/100ths of a millimeter accurate. So, which by the way, 1/100th of a millimeter is smaller than 1/1000th of an inch. So if you,
I'm not sure what the measurement is. That's centimeters, meters, or is it inches and feet? Also, I gotta say, 6.9K views. Nice.
didn't know that, you can check that. You can check my math on that, but it is the case. But anyway, this is within 1/1000th of an inch accurate. And so we get a digital readout, so you might as well spend, I believe this was $35, and it's all stainless steel, digital readout, glass screen, as well as, you know, it just has kind of all the bells and whistles that you would ask for in a nice set of digital calipers. So again, as far as the function of them, from vernier calipers to dial calipers to digital calipers, they're all serving the same purpose, and that is measuring. Now this is a 6-inch digital caliper, so it's going to measure up to 6 inches. There are ways to measure more than that, but basically this is a 6-inch caliper. You can get them larger as well as you can get them smaller. Now I will tell you, we'll measure a few things here in a moment, but the first thing you want to do when you get a set of calipers out of your box is you want to zero it out. So if for some reason it was measuring, say, 0.5, let's see if I can, sometimes it'll, there, anyway,
Okay.
you can just hit the zero button, it will zero that gauge out so that you're starting from zero. So close it all the way up, hit the zero button, and then you can take your measurement.
So there's a zero button. Interesting.
Now let's cover a few things getting a measurement here, which by the way, like this kit here, it comes with an extra battery, which by the way, this one takes a 2030 CR2032, which is a very common battery. So make sure whatever you're getting does have some common batteries, so you can easily find them at Walmart, big box stores, or Amazon, what have you. So you can easily.
Yeah, we definitely have Walmart in Singapore. We definitely do.
Find this battery, and by the way, the battery slide is right there. You can pick that, pull that slide out, replace that battery, and it will also automatically turn off. So once you put that away, it'll turn off, or you can just push the button and turn it off as well. This one's also IP54 rated, so it's going to protect against water and dust intrusion as well, so you don't have to worry about a little bit of splatter getting on there if you spit your drink on it or whatever you may be doing in the shop. So anyway, let's take a couple of measurements here. So we're zeroed out and we're on inches, and so you can see here I can check across here. And by the way, I always want to get my smallest measurement. So it looks like we're 314 thousandths of an inch, actually 314 and a half, 10 thousandths, or 3,100.
I don't understand what he just said there, but I do understand. It looks like that's how you measure. Interesting. So that's how you use it. Excuse me, I'm checking the phone. Is there any geography homework? No. I'm doing physics homework right now, though. And now I'm gonna take a picture and send it to him. Friend was asking me what homework that was. That's hilarious. All right.
45 10 thousandths or 314 and a half thousandths of an inch. If I wanted to switch to millimeters, now I'm at 7.99.
So that's 7 millimeters. I see. I get these values now. So it's about 8 millimeters.
Millimeters. So that's the valve stem here is what I'm reading. Now when I'm reading something like this and I can get the whole jaws in there, I try to get it right there on the flats of the jaws versus the small thin area right here. So that's going to give me a better reading or a more consistent reading as if I'm right on the front side of those jaws. But again, if I'm having to reach in and grab something, then obviously we can use the tips of those jaws to do so. So I can easily read the valve stem size right there. So again, you want to kind of close up on it until it gets nice and firm and make sure you're getting the smallest measurement possible, and then get your reading on that. And by the way, you can also lock it down with the thumb screw right here, so that when you take it over to your workbench to write that down or to plug it into your computer or whatever you're needing to do, compare it to something else, you can do so by locking that down. So again, come in here, get our reading, lock it down, and now we're good to go. Another thing, realize that there's a couple of ways to move these jaws here. So right here is kind of a gross way of moving this. So macro, if you will. So if you need to move large areas, you can just grasp this thing and slide this back and forth, which by the way, this is a very smooth one. As I mentioned, this is stainless steel, so it moves really, really well. It's not gritty whatsoever. Anyway, so as I'm closing in, to close in, big areas, I can use that. However, this little wheel right here, and that's what it is. It's like a little wheel. That's used for doing your kind of micro movements, if you will. So if I wanted to close up on a small gap, I can kind of push that up, and what that does, it kind of grips onto the caliper. So rather than just using that as a push bar, it's actually wheeling. So when I grab it here, it's actually wheeling itself on that track. So you see that? So now I'm doing a lot smoother movement to close up that small gap, if you will.
That's really interesting there. I think the wheel's a really cool thing there. I'm not too sure how I'm going to be using that, though, or how applicable it is, because I don't feel like it's not necessary. It doesn't seem necessary to measure those really small things. Not really small things, just like try and get it as squeezed in as possible, if you know what I mean.
So learn to use that. Learn to use that little wheel rather than just kind of slamming this shut. Once you get it closed, then use your little wheel and roll that in, and now we can get a better reading, or at least a smoother reading as you're closing up that gap. So learn to use that little wheel, and also learn to use your lock to lock down that measurement. And if I wanted to read something larger, and obviously if I wanted to read the face of this valve here, which by the way, this is something else, a little tip for you. You want to kind of rock this back and forth because you're never sure where you're going to get on the max diameter of that valve. So we want to make sure, kind of keep closing it up here, and it'll start rubbing, and then there we go. Because if I tried to measure it here, well, that's not the max diameter. So if I get right, there we go. So basically almost 51 millimeters, or little over 2 inches. So right at a 2-inch valve face on that. Now, what if I wanted to measure an internal measurement? Well, that's a great question. And very easy to do so. So now, rather than using these front jaws, I'm going to use these back jaws here. So now if I wanted the internal diameter.
I didn't notice those little things at the top were actually used. I hadn't noticed that. I didn't really pay attention to those. Damn.
Of that wrist pin. There we go, 531 thousandths is the internal diameter. And again, you know, if you want to make sure that you're kind of dead on, you kind of rock that back and forth until you get your maximum reading, and then we can read that 527 or 530 thousandths, whatever that max reading is on that. They're 535 thousandths.
All right, the
Or if I
microphone
wanted
here.
to measure the
Hit
big
the
rod
volume
end
on.
of this. So again,
I hope not.
I can use my little wheel here, close that in, and then I can get my big rod end measurement. So several ways to use these digital calipers, and then even something like if I wanted to measure the dish of that piston, that's where we'd use the opposite end here. So our depth measurement right here. So I've got a little dish on that piston, and so I would put that on the inside, close that down, and then basically looks like I've got 74 thousandths of an inch dish on that. And then of course I can measure the diameter as well to see how many cc's I have in there, but that tells me the depth of my dish there. So I can
Either I'm stupid or this is weird. This is either weird and doesn't make sense, or I'm stupid.
easily check the depth
What I mean is I don't get what was that?
up. And then again, if I needed millimeters, there we go, almost a 2 millimeter dish. So several different ways that you can use these dial calipers or digital calipers or vernier calipers. There's various other things you can use as well. There are other tools. There's larger bases that you can put on here. So when you are checking depths like that, it provides you a larger base to use.
Checking depths. Does that really work? I feel like it doesn't. Maybe. Maybe. Huh.
You're checking that. So I think I'll continue on bringing forth more precision-based tools that really you should have in your toolbox, which, by the way, so I've closed up these calipers.
Your toolbox. People definitely have toolboxes all the time with them. I mean, maybe they have them in the storeroom. I think my dad has a toolbox in the storeroom.
And you see it's saying 1/100th of a millimeter, even though I've got them closed out. So if I wanted to zero it, I'll just hit the 0 button, and now I'm ready to do my measurement again. But anyway, for $35 on Amazon.
$35. My goodness. Well, I think that's it. I think I got done my homework. I think I officially understand how to use all these calipers and the micrometer. This video is still really bad, though. I don't know why he picked this video. I really don't appreciate my recommended still, especially this one. Goodness, there's not even anything good here. Not even anything good at the bottom right. The bottom right is just even more digital calipers. Oh no. Well, I'm gonna end the video here.